So yeah, again, good morning, everyone. So until now, whatever we have learned is mostly theoretical concepts, like what are the core concepts within Python, like which includes variables, then coming down to all kind of data types, the sets, list, dictionaries, tuples, and then moving forward to operators also, like where we checked about multiple types of operators like assignment operators, comparative operators, then logical operators, and so on. And then lastly, what we understood was how to write a function and as well as how to utilize loops. In those loops, we did is three type of loops, which were if else loop, then while loop, and the last one was for loop, where we observed was like for loop was more productive if you want to basically iterate over items which is present in your list, dictionary, or any other data type. And then lastly, we understood something about indentations, which will go further more into detail, like when we write into program. Now, since this is our first program, uh, I will do is again like addition of two numbers, but yesterday we did was more of like a straightforward addition of two numbers. But here what we'll do is we'll try to add two numbers, but those two numbers will be taken from the console here. So this over here is the UI, which you can also use for your daily practice. And if you want to use a tool called as any other IDE tools called as PyCharm or Eclipse, that can also be used to download the Python and use it for programming. But if you don't want to do that, there is a straightforward browser which you can use it for doing Python programming. So let's go back to our program, which is our first program. So we will write a program to add two numbers. And over here, these two numbers will be taken from the right hand side console over here. So basically in the console, we will ask the user to provide your first number, then your second number, and then you do an addition on those two numbers and display the output. So for doing this program, what we first need to do is whenever we are doing a program, we need to do is define or like declare that function first. So to declare that function, what we usually do is def, which is your short form of define, and then give your function name. Now my function name can be, let's say, sum of two numbers. So this is a user given function name. So we can give it anything. And inside this function, I know like I'm always going to need is two numbers. So I'll take a comma b. So these two are my numbers followed by a colon. And internally here we will write all the block of statements which needs to be done so that you can perform the addition of two numbers. But before even going there, once we declare this function, right, like what is the next step is? Next step is we can write the function call. So the function call is nothing but we have to like copy the function name and provide the two values which we want to pass. So ideally, this is our function declaration, and this is our function call. So these are the two important things whenever we are writing a program needs to be done. Now, this is just partially done. Um, so going back to our program, now since we want to add two numbers, we'll declare two variables, A, and on the next line, B. And as we said, initially what we were doing is just passing hard-coded values here in the program itself, like A as 10 and B as 5. And then we'll pass these hard-coded values A comma B into this function. And internally within this function, we can declare a sum variable or S equal to A plus B. And on the next line, we can do is print S. sum of two numbers is s. So this is how we are writing the core logic for the function. The only one part pending over here is instead of giving these two numbers over here as hard coded, whenever we run this program, we should ask the user over here on this side to provide the values like what you want, like 10, 15, whatever. That message should be given here first. Then those two numbers would be captured. And then we should call this function so that the addition of two numbers happen. But before going there, I'll just walk you through like all the concepts, whatever we have learned until now. So whenever Python sees this program, how it will execute is it will go through line by line, and initially it has seen this function declaration, which is defined function name. And within this function, you'll see two lines which are present. So the first line and second lines are both self-explanatory, where first line is saying is like it will add two variables a and b which are passed as part of input. So my final result will be stored in this variable called as s, and the next line is doing is print, and print will do is like it will display this message sum of two numbers followed by whatever the value which is present in this s. Now one additional observation which we are seeing is how do we know like these two lines belong to this function or define sum of two numbers. Now the way we know like these two lines belong to that function is through the mechanism of indentation. Now indentation, as we talked about in our last session, is nothing but like we provide like additional spaces within this function name. So whenever we are trying to write multiple statements within this function, all the block of lines should follow the same indentation. Now, same indentation means the number of spaces, if you see from start to end, right? Like from your start of this to this S, whatever this blank space you see, it should be same for every line within this function. And that will help Python understand that these two lines are belonging to this function. Let's say if the next line, like second line, is having like just a single indent, like a single space, whereas the first line has multiple characters present, like multiple blank spaces. So here you see the indentation is not consistent. Like first line has more spaces and second line has just little bit space. So this way, what Python will understand is it has some error that it cannot understand like where this line belongs. Either it belongs in this function or is it outside the function. So if you want to know like this line is outside of function, we should keep it without spaces. So if it's without space, without any indentation, that means this line is outside this function. And for our understanding, now we know like this line should be inside function. I usually give is a space of tab. So whenever I press this tab button on my keyboard, I get a tab space, which keeps like consistency within all the lines. So that was the first part of the indentation, and that way we know like these lines belong to this function. Now coming back again, like when we are done with this program now, when Python starts reading line by line, it understands this is the first line, which is function declaration, and these next two lines belong to this function because of that indentation logic. And when it comes here, it understands it is outside the function, and then it identifies there are two variables called as a and b, and their values are 10 and 5. And the next line, which is the last line, it identifies it is a function call. And this function call is basically identified first, which invokes the Python to call this function. Because when the program is executing, it won't execute this part first. What will be executed first is line number 9, where it will store the value of 10 in A, then 5 in B, and then this value. and then it will identify this function call. The function call is like a trigger, like a button. Like whenever it identifies this function call, which matches with your previously defined function declaration, it identifies like it needs to call this function. And for this function, we need is two values, which are like a and b values. And it passes these values here, like a will carry 10, b will carry 5. And then it will do the addition internally, store it in S and print it. Now let's run this and we'll see like the output over here. So if I execute, I'm getting sum of two numbers as 15. So this is how the Python is executing. So line number one, this is the first line which is executed. First line which is executed by Python. Then this is the second line. And then this is the third line. And from third line, it will jump directly over here, which is the fourth, I would say fourth line, where it understands like how the Python is going execution, like A, line number 9, 10, then 11. From 11, it will jump to line number 3, which is the fourth part, and internally it will execute. And that's how it is showing the output of execution. So this is how every program will run down the line. Like whatever programs we write, we'll go by this structure, which is like more easier for us to understand. And uh, the function flow or like the control flow is also easy to understand. Now we'll move on to the next concept which we wanted to learn was to get these numbers values from here itself, like from the console we will ask the user to provide these numbers. So how we can provide is we will remove these hard-coded values, and instead of providing values, what we can do is we can use inbuilt function which is provided by Python called as input. And in these round brackets, I can provide what is the message. So I can say like enter first number. Then same way, I can say for second one also input, enter second number. So this input function is provided by Python. What it does is this input function will provide us a message here in the console asking us for an input with a message, and that message is enter first number. So based on the nature of message understanding, like Python is asking us to enter a first number. And after this message, whenever it comes, if we press a number in this console here, that number will be stored in this variable called as A. Now, the difference would be like how the number would be stored in A. So for the first time, whenever this input is taking a message from your console, that has been considered as a string. I'll explain you that part, but let's run that program now and we can see like what the issue is exactly. If I run this program, I get a message here, enter first number. So I say like first number is 10, enter second number is 20. Sum of two numbers is 10, 20, which is 1020, which seems wrong, right? Now why it is wrong is this input function, whenever it takes input from this console, it's considering it as a string and not a number. So string is basically like a text, and second number is also text. So this 10 is considered as a text, 20 is also considered as text, and Python is doing is concatenation operation. So concatenation is nothing but joining those two texts together using this plus sign and giving us the output. So that is like a data type of this number. Now, by default, always the data type of this input function is going to be string. So in order to get the numbers from the console, what we'll do is we will use integer function over here, int, and inside this integer function, we will pass this whole input message. Same way for the second one. And once we do this, now whatever the string which was taken here at as part of this input function would be converted to an integer. So this 10 which you have inserted will be converted from string to a number, which is an actual integer number, so that we can add those two numbers. Now both these two 10 and 20, both numbers would be identified as integers and not string. And these two would be added as numbers, and then we'll get the output here as 30. Now let me run the program and show you. So first one is 10, second one is 20. Now we see sum of two number as 30. So this is how we can take the two numbers as a integers using this input function, and then utilizing this int function, which is a short form of integer, to convert your string to a number and then do that addition.
Also,
Mhm.
is there any for giving the extra spaces, is there any operator or a keyword in the Python that's
Extra
used on like
space.
integer? Yeah, like for giving the spaces, like in the Java and all hashtag NB, sorry, ampersand NBSP and all is like that. Is there no
Yeah.
HTML?
Mhm.
So like that is there in the Python.
Yes, there is like there are a couple of things which are similar to Java or like C++ which we have. So one of the thing is called as backslash n.
Okay,
Then there is a
next line.
backslash t also, which gives a tab space.
Tab.
Then that
Okay.
ampersand also. Now we will have to check more like what are those exactly, but we can try it out here to see like how those are working. So if you see, backslash n is usually taking your
Yeah.
output to the next line, and then we use backslash t where like from here the cursor move to a tab space. So that's why the 30 is shown at this
Hmm.
position. Now if you just
Okay.
put this backslash t, our output of 30 should be shown somewhere here.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I want to confirm it. Fine.
Yeah. So these are basically inbuilt operators only, or like India like special characters provided by Python to work on the spaces. So I hope like this first program is easy to understand and how to structure it. We
Yes, sir.
can, okay.
Take a
Now what
screenshot, guys.
screenshot is also not required. I can directly paste this in our like the regular Word notes, and I can share you every lecture now.
Okay.
So let me open it quickly. Okay. Now we will move to another program, which would be in like maths only, like which will be doing like a mathematical operation. Like let's take a program to reverse a number. So now we'll write a program to reverse a number. So reversing a number means like, let's say we have a number called as like 123. We need to reverse it to 321 the other way. The other example is like, let's say I have like 100. I need to reverse it to just one, because zeros at the start would be same as it is, right? So it would be just one. Then I can have any other number like 456. It should reverse it to 654, like that. So we need to basically write a program which will take a number from the input here, and it will do some processing. And in that processing, it will reverse that number in this format. And as part of output, it will let us know what is the reverse of that number. So before even going into the program, now what we usually do is we will do is function declaration, which is define and then give a function name. We can say reverse number, and in open and close bracket, I need to give is list of parameters. Now in a previous program, we gave is two variables a and b because we were trying to add two numbers. But now we just want to reverse is a single number, right? Like, which is just like a number like 123 or 100 or 456. We will just need is a single variable, and I can give its name as like a number n0 for us to understand. And then we can leave some spaces here for us to write the processing logic. And if I go back to the regular line number 11, any line, I can say like number equal to integer, and inside this integer I am giving is the input. Here I will ask enter a number, and after I ask that number, I am doing is a function call, and in that function call I am doing is number. So that Python will read is this line first, like it will execute this line first, and in the console we will give the number. That number is stored in this variable n0, and this reverse number function call would be invoked. That means it will be triggered with this value present in it, and then it will go over here. Now internally, how it will process is some additional thing we need to understand. Now this part is mostly like majority of the logic involves in like maths, like how do we create that logic of reversing a number. So ideally, like what the logic I'll be using is, let's say I have a number like 123, right? Now what I will do is I will take a variable called as output equal to 0. So this is just like I'm showing like logic utilized. So this is like an explanation. This part, whatever it's below this line, is more of like an explanation, but the core logic would be only here. So first I'll explain how that logic is, and then we will implement that logic internally here. So this is my number, input number, and then I'll take two variable like let's say output, which will store the final output like this 321 or 654 or any number. And then I will utilize a remainder, and for that I'll say by default it is 0. So now what I'll do is first I will take this number 123, I will divide it by 10, and once I divide it, what will be my output? So if I divide, usually as part of output I'll get is the quotient, and the quotient here is 12, right? And the remainder here is 3. So this is how, if you see, if I divide a number by 10, I'm separating quotient and remainder out of it. But usually my divisor, which is this operator, is always going to give me quotient but not remainder. But what I want is remainder. So what I'll do is instead of division, I will do is modulo operator. Now modulo operator, what we learned is whenever we apply a modulo, it will do is division like this and give you quotient and remainder. But it won't give us as part of output quotient. It will only give us as the remainder. Now looking at this, what we understand is if we do a modulo 10 of any given number, I'm taking the last digit out of it, which is 3. So that's how I'm taking my first digit out of this 123. And then I will write one more formula of this output, which will do is, so my remainder equal to 3 because of this operation of modulo. So what I'll do is equal to 3, and then my output equal to output into 10 plus remainder. So this is my formula for calculating. So this is my formula for calculating the output. So first time we take this number 123, do a modulo, get the 3 out of it. Now we will try to add this 3 in this output. So since my output now is 0, how it will work is 0 into 10 plus remainder. So what is the output here? Output is 3, right? 0 into 10 is 0 plus 3. So output finally is 3. So this should happen in my loop number 1. So I need to utilize this formula again and again until my output, or like until my number becomes 0. So one more part would be my original number becomes number divided by 10, which is nothing but equal to 123 divided by 10 is quotient, which is 12. So these three lines of logic will be used in a program where I'll go again. So originally my number was 123. I'm taking two variables, output as 0, remainder as 0. Now what I did is I calculated a remainder, which is 123 modulo 10 gives me 3. That means I've taken this 3 out of it, and I will add that 3 as part of my output. So output is equal to output into 10 plus remainder. So this formula is going to be always the same for us in the logic. So output right now is 0. So 0 into 10, which is 0 plus 3. So my output is 3. And then my original number, which is 123, should be reduced to 12 because 3 is been taken out of it. So number equal to number divided by 10 will give us that, which is 123 divided by 10 gives us the quotient, which is 12. So once I do this initial operation, like
Sir,
one,
sorry to interrupt, but we can also write it as number equals to slash equal to 10, right?
yeah, correct. So this one, so this we can do it this way. So yeah,
Okay,
as
sir.
you said, like yeah, we can do it, but since this is a like couple of initial programs, like we are just going like as easy as it is for us to understand. But yeah, if you are understanding like this way, we can do it this way. So number slash equal to 10 should give us like the same way logic which we wrote here. So yeah, like in a program, it's up to you. How do you want to write it? Like slash equal to 10 or number equal to number divided by 10. Anything is fine. So this will give us 12. So this operation is basically just like one loop. Now we'll keep on doing this logic of three operations until my number becomes 0. Now is my number 0? No, because it is 12. So next loop, what I'll do is, what is my remainder? My remainder is equal to my number mod 10. So my number, which is new number, is 12. So 12 mod 10 equal to, I'll get is 2 out of it because 12 divided by 10, the remainder is 2. And my output is output into 10 plus remainder, which is equal to, what is my output now? Now output is actually 3 because in my previous loop, my new output is calculated as 3 and not 0. So 3 into 10 plus remainder. So 10 is a 30 plus 2, 32. So this is how we are getting the output. Now, if you see closely, this 32 is more of like reverse of the last two digits. So we are getting there. And then number equal to number divided by 10, which is equal to, what is my number? My number is 12 divided by 10. Now 12 divided by 10, I should get is quotient, which is 1. And then my last loop, which is 3. Now here I'll do the last operation, remainder equal to number, which is my 1 modulo 10. And if I divide 1 by 10, my remainder is 1. And then output equal to output into 10 plus remainder. So what is my output? My latest output would be from the previous loop, which is 32 into 10 plus remainder, which is 2. Sorry, it is 1, not 2, because remainder here is 1, right? So 32 into 10 is 320 plus 1. So 321. And if you see now, your output is 321, which is the reverse of 123. So this is how internally our logic should be done. And then lastly, my number equal to number divided by 10 is equal to, what was my number? My number was output equal, oh, number was 1 divided by 10. And if we divide 1 by 10, my quotient is 0. So since my number is 0, I don't need to do the further processing. So that way we understand we will break at number equal to 0. So looking at this, it just needs like 3 loops, but why it needed 3 loops was because we took this 3-digit numbers. What if we take like 6-digit number or like n-digit numbers? So that can vary anytime. So we need to write a program which will fix or like which will work for every program. So now looking at this logic, we'll write the logic of our program as the same way, like output, which we took as 0, then my remainder as 0, and then I can write while my number is greater than 0, what I should do is I should calculate my remainder first, which was this one, remainder equal to number mod 10. Okay, and then my output equal to output into 10 plus remainder. So this formulas, whatever I'm writing is nothing but like what we understood here. And the last one is number equal to number divided by 10. Number equal to number divided by 10. So we'll keep on doing this logic like operations until my number becomes 0. And when the number becomes 0, my while loop will break. And as part of my output of while loop, I should do is print reverse of number is comma my output, which stores the reverse of it. So I can remove these blank spaces which we have now. So this was the logic which we understood. I'll comment this out because we don't need to execute. And this is our core program. Now let's test it out, like if it's working or not, and then we can see. Enter a number 1, 2, 3. Reverse of a number is n y. Okay, let's run it again. Okay, so this division which I did was like double division. I'll tell you like what is that, because sometimes this Python need is like double times these operators, which is like 2 slashes for division, because this Python is like high level languages. Like this one is 3.8 version, and it depends from version to version also. And the other one is sometimes based on the version of Python, if we give a single divide, it does is like floor division, which is more of like doing a decimal numbers division. And if we do is 2 slashes, it will do is like integer division. So since we want to do is like integer division where we don't want like any numbers in decimal, we're giving double slashes for division. So that's because of Python's version which is being used here. So yeah, like coming back to this, if I enter my number 1, 2, 3, my reverse of number is 3, 2, 1. So that's how I'm getting my output. So any doubt until now?
So,
Yeah,
uh, no, the session will be gonna end, no, within few minutes, so we
yeah,
can
three
continue with
minutes.
the new link. Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
just yes. Any doubts, guys?
So we still have 3 minutes. So if anyone has doubt, we can discuss for 3 minutes and then we can move to our next program if there is no
No,
doubt.
sir, no doubt. I understood the program.
Okay. So I'll just store this program in our notes. I can share it with you.
Anisha, you also understood, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, sir. So I'll send you the new link. Okay,
Okay.
everyone, just to join the new link then.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sending you on the WhatsApp.
Yep.
Okay. Bye.
Okay. Thanks. Bye.